Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your regular host, Rich Natoli. And tonight we're going to have on Captain Scotty Sevins, one of my favorite returning guests of all time. Trying to bribe him to come on like every week, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, he does have a job, I guess. But yeah, I love talking to Scotty. He's just one of those guys that, to use one of his terms, I just vibe with. And and he always teaches me something. So Scotty's going to come on. We're going to be talking about a really well-timed topic, the way that this works out, and that's going to be the shift into fall fishing. And what we all know that ever focus on striped bass is that first nor'easter, once you hit October, is typically going to be a kickoff to some really good action. Not that there hasn't been action already, but we're just coming out of the tail end of that. And I kind of feel bad because, man, the points at the shore in New Jersey, New York, even south, they're still dealing with, I saw 15-foot waves offshore, up to around 12 feet against the coast. So they're still dealing with it right now, but we're going to talk what we do on the other side of this for fishing, because it's time to talk about that. Going to roll into real quick the sponsors. Great Bay Outfitters on Radio Road, the best kayak shop that you're going to find anywhere in the area. Check out Great Bay Outfitters for anything that you need. And Paul did post on Facebook as the lagoon is flooding. This is an outfitter on the water, which is key because you can test out the kayaks. But it also means that Paul keeps kayaks on the floating docks. And the floating docks are, I think, above the bulkhead right now. So he has said, if you find any kayaks floating, you can claim salvage rights. So maybe that'll happen. Hopefully it doesn't for Paul's sake, but yeah, they're getting hit down there. But if you need anything native, Old Town, and any variety of other brands that he sells used on consignment, check him out. Radio Road in Tuckerton. Quad Stay tuned. Kevin Driscoll is your man. If you have a Toyota truck, we're talking specifically the 4Runner Tundra, even the Lexus 460 and 470. These engine tunes are what you're going to need to improve the torque, get a better throttle response, more horsepower. Talk about the Gen 3 Tacomas, outstanding trucks, but they have a little bit of a gear hunting issue where they don't quite shift as smooth as they should. This tune will take care of it. Reach out to Kevin, 484-633-5975. He'll let you know if you need it or not. He's not just going to sell it to you because you have a Toyota. He'll talk to you about what your issues are and what your hopes are, and he will tell you flat out if it's for you. So reach out to Kevin. And then the final is me for real estate. I am at Weichert Realtors Cornerstone in Bluebell and Collegeville, PA. So anything Southeastern Pennsylvania real estate, give me a call. Happy to help. Primary residential, can do some light commercial. And as a matter of fact, I can also help you with other states. I do have listings in other states that I work with other people on under their names. So any questions, reach out to me. I'm actually helping a friend who lives in Denver right now, just, as a consultant on the side for them. Happy to help you out. Numbers 267-270-1145. And as we're just about to jump in, I'm going to bring Scotty on in a second. I want to just take a second to reach out to everybody that is watching live, listening later, or watching the video later, and just say, I am really appreciative of everyone for tuning into this. This is kind of like a passion project, not making money on this, but it's something I love doing, love connecting with not just the guests, but all of you out there. James Flynn was the first one in chat. He's almost always the first one in chat. And it's just great to see you guys coming back. And my brother's in there. Good to see you, Tom, even though you're there to troll. We all know that. Scotty's in there. Tad, I haven't been on the water with Tad in way too long. Paul's in there for Great Bay Outfitters. Michelle and Joseph are in there so far. And there are a bunch of others that haven't chatted. But I am really grateful for everybody for kind of sticking with me over time. This is not easy to do, especially as a solo show, but I love it. And the guests like coming on and connecting with all of you. So yeah, with that said, we're going to bring Captain Scotty Sevins on because Scotty is the one that I need to talk to about this transition, because you talk about somebody who is well into the summer species during season. He makes that big switch and then starts to dominate the fall species while he has a boat in the water. And then actually, even after that, he's been known to take other people's boats and go out and get some great footage and pictures. So with that said, I'm going to bring him on stage. Captain Scotty Sevins. Scotty, it's good to see you again, man.
What's going on, fellas? It's good
Very
to
happy.
see you, Rich.
Yeah, very happy to have you on. And I'm very happy to have you on post Sheepshead. So
I am so happy to look and talk and do anything else aside from Sheep's Head at this point in the year. Yeah. I can't even tell you. I got to tell you, the last 2 weeks or so, I've actually had an opportunity a time or two to get out for a few hours myself, and I was not dropping for sheeps. I was fishing for bass, and I like just to get my hand around some bass lips again. I gotta tell you, I still have a little bit of bass thumb, but like it just felt good. I've never been more stoked for bass in my life, and I never really thought I'd say that. You know what I mean? So after a while, you just kind of get a little bit jaded to things, but like super excited for this change.
Yeah, I am as well. And look, full disclosure to everyone, as I get in, through my recovery and back into things, Scotty and I were just talking. I've only been out 5, maybe 6 times this entire year, which is 5 or 6 times more than last year. And I have always said, striped bass is not one of my favorites, but I decided though, I guess the lack of fishing, maybe I took it for granted, because I've been getting more and more excited for this changeover to happen and for the fall to hit. And maybe I did just take it for granted, because I started the last few weeks kind of saving my time that I can get away from work and kind of stacking it later in the year. So one day is for the Fat Dad fishing get together, which we're going to do on the Osprey. As soon as they publish the schedule, I will tell everyone live.
Okay. I'm doing that. I remember we did that. The last time we did that, I think I caught the only fish. I caught a starfish.
Yeah.
And you know what? Coincidentally, I actually saved that and dried it out and gave it to a friend of mine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, the starfish day. Oh,
yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I tried, but somebody else caught a lobster, so I think that may have superseded. I don't know. I feel like mine was technically a fish. So
yes, there was a lot of discussion and debate about that. Yes,
there was. But either way, I've never had such a fun time getting skunked in my life. It was just good vibes all around with everybody.
Yeah,
Ben was there. Ed was there. It was just so much fun with so many good people. So I am so down for that whenever it happens.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting for the Osprey to publish their schedule, because look, we could just rent the whole boat, but it's too much. I can't do that solo. I'm not going to be able to do all this and then collect money and do all this stuff to get it set up. So we're going to wait for the schedule to come out.
Okay.
And then as soon as that happens, the next Monday, I'm going to announce live, and I will let people know in the social media posts what day it is so that people can jump in and get their spot.
Okay.
We ran out of spots.
I know of a few people that would be interested in going.
Good. The more, the better. I remember the last time we did it, I was not feeling well, but I had such a good time because everybody else was having such a good time around.
It's all that matters, man.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm really looking forward to it. I keep getting texts, when is it? And there's nothing I can do unless maybe I can call the captain and just say, hey,
Amanda.
Yeah. When can we get this thing set up?
Yeah, she's the best. She really is.
Yeah. So. Behind the scenes, she's doing everything.
Oh, I know. She's a bad hun. She really is.
Yeah. So that'll be coming up, but let's start talking a little bit about what we have in front of us, because, I mentioned it at the open. it seems that every year it's a storm that kicks it off. It's a
Yeah.
nor'easter or a hurricane that comes through, and it has similar effects on the water. It just blows away the coastline, but then right behind it, you start getting the bigger volume and the bigger fish coming
Mhm.
in. Do you see that happening this time, or do you think it's a little early?
1,000%. And I'll tell you this. So, and I'm going to have to back up from this, but there was fish up in Long Island. I mean, this stuff kicked off like this week ahead
Yeah,
of this storm. So those fish that were up in Long Island, I guarantee will be down in same after this blow here. They'll be right in our lap already. They
yeah,
really will. So, but going back to that, you were right. We like there was signs of fall all over the marsh starting back in August. There
right.
really was. You see this bait starting to move around, and in my brain, because I am forever in never-ending summer mode. You know what I mean? Like I'm still rocking my flip flops heavy. Like, it's funny. My last trip, just Friday, my guys were like, "I can't believe you're still in shorts and flip flops. I don't know how you're doing it." But so anyway, but yeah, there was signs of fall all over the marsh, even going back to August. And I will tell you this: that Erin was like the third week of August. Erin changed the entire trajectory of this early fall fishery completely.
Yeah,
It completely did. And a few weeks after Erin, we got this nor'easter. I think it was like second week of September. Again, completely changed the entire trajectory of the fish that I saw, what was here, what moved out, and what moved in.
yeah,
And I gotta tell you, like we like those storms, while it put a damper and killed one fishery, it brought like a whole realm of new possibilities. And I'll tell you what, it really brought with it, even those earlier storms. I'm going back with Erin. It really brought in a lot of big bass into the backwater. I'll tell
yeah.
you that.
Well,
Yeah.
how have you been doing on them in your personal time?
Uh,
You're not chartering for them yet, are you? Or have you already
well,
made that?
so I always bring Spot with me,
Yeah,
no matter what I'm doing, and I always bring that as a backup. That's always my just in case. Anyone that's been out with me knows, because there's usually an opportunity within, like, say, like a normal trip where you have the opportunity to drop and hook into some really quality bass. Like, I'll tell you, we broke off, and nobody wants to hear about the ones that got away, but we broke off some real monsters the last few weeks. And it's just based on what you're trying to pull them out of. You're just trying to pull them out of wretched, wretched, wretched rubble. And
yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'll say this: people say, "Okay, we'll scale up the tackle." Well, you do, but there's a very distinct um, like correlation between the size of your tackle and your leader size and the amount of bites that you get. You know what I mean? So if you're throwing down 50 fluoro, you're not getting the same amount of bites as you are with 20 fluoro. It's just a fact of the matter.
really.
Yeah,
So
1,000%. Yeah.
I haven't really tested that. I would say that I don't feel that they're well. Let's qualify this. It does depend on what they're doing at the time. In a
Yeah.
blitz, I think you're fine with whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
and we're talking strictly Back Bay right now.
yeah, so
Mhm.
you're talking some holdovers and some of their early arrivals.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're definitely going to want to lead her down where you can. The
Mhm.
other thing is it gives you better action when you have the lighter leaders on there.
It does. It
And for the
does.
spot too.
The bait, yeah, the bait swim sprayer. Like, I'm constantly looking for new ways to present like a live spot to make it look as natural as possible. Like,
Right.
for the longest time, for years and years and years and years and years, but actually before anybody else was doing it. Like I was lining on bottom sweeper jigs for years, man. Even
Yeah.
eels included. Like I was dropping the 1 ounce 3.0. That was my eel rig go to. And of course you can't
Yeah.
do that anymore because of
The circle hook.
circle hooks, exactly. But
Yeah, which I was shocked that I suspected, but I was still shocked that they don't have any updated mortality rates based on circle hooks. And not only do they not have them, they haven't studied it.
yeah, and listen, I'll say this, and like like I really do try to follow the regs, but I was one of those. I did not want to switch over, and I switched over, and I will say the next 10 fish, 8 out of 10 were all gut hooked with on circle hooks.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Back when I used to live line with the bottom sweepers, they were always caught in the same thing, same place, right in the tip of the tip.
Yeah,
of the
right at the
snout.
top.
Yep, right at the top. I never had a swallowed hook live lining on a bottom sweeper, not ever.
Yeah, I think one of the things is that I think circle hooks work. However, it doesn't matter what the shape of the hook is if you're letting it eat it all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna circle its way into something on the way out. I mean, that's soft tissue it's going through if it gets down into the stomach.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, people that are using circle hooks may be dead sticking. And if they're dead sticking it and they inhale the thing, all it takes is that second gulp of it. It inhales it and then it gulps it all the way down.
Yeah.
And then, on the second or the third time, once it's turned right in its mouth, and that's it, you're gut hooked. But if you're using the bottom sweepers, you're not doing that. You're actively moving.
You're not. I mean, really, and the fish would always hook themselves. Really, there wasn't a whole lot. Even back when you could use, the snag hooks, a lot of people made the mistake of, letting that bass actually swallow the bait. But no, you don't even have to do that. Like back when you could use the snag hooks, if you just kept that thing locked up, as soon as they grab that bunker, there's no getting away from that. And they were always hooked in some not deep in their throat and somewhere where you could grab them.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this though, as far as the snag hooks, for me personally, I didn't see any issue with saying, with the no snag and drop part of it.
Yeah.
Because look, my snag rigs are not the rods and the tackle that I want to use to actually catch and fight a fish.
Yeah.
They're typically heavier with that real heavy tip. They got a heavier leader on it. And I'm just cranking that thing out as far as I can, because often you're doing it offshore or out front and the bunker is not right next to you.
Yeah.
Now in a kayak, like in the Raritan, you can literally just toss 5 feet and just snag something most of the time. But back then it was, you're pulling the boat up and you see it 50, 60 yards away and you're hauling to get it.
Yeah.
So I always from day one would snag and bring it in and just transfer it onto a regular hook and then toss it out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that works better than having that big, heavy snag hook on there. It just, to me, it's not the same thing. It's an easier fight with that big snag hook on there. And to me, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some fight too.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And there's a lot of different schools of thought, and there's a lot of guys that agree with it and some that don't agree. But
yeah,
I don't want to get into that. I don't judge the guys that still do it, and I don't judge the guys that that do the transfer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't either. Like I said, it was my personal preference to do it that way. Other people are like, no, you just snag it and let it go. I'm like, that's cool. That's what you like doing. Just do it. Now you can't anymore, or at least don't get caught doing it. But I just didn't think it was that much fun. So for me personally, I was like, yeah, I don't care. No big deal. But I'm hoping that they
into like the whole backwater piece of things, because that's what I'm most excited with. Like Rich, when I tell you like anybody that's known me for a while knew how much, especially my salt marsh Sundays, how special flats fishing for striped bass was to me. You know, like that was my peace, that was my serenity, that was my church. And the last few years I haven't had a chance to do that, but like I'm really excited to start doing that again. In fact, that's real. I'm more excited to start doing that than I am chasing, like the fall ocean bass, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
I do prefer the backwater. I think
Yep.
and actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we go through and we'll both kind of throw out how things are changing between the summer bass fishing
Hmm.
and the fall. And listen, everybody, I totally realize tog blackfish is a big part of this fall transition. That's not going to be really what we're focusing on right now.
Yeah.
It's really the transition from away from fluke and away from some of the other species and into striped bass as king. And it is king through
It
the end of the
really
year
is.
for most people, not everybody, but most
Hmm.
people. One thing I do want to mention is where you're going to find them is going to expand. And what I mean by that is in the summer when you're fishing, yes, there are certain, well, let me just start here. It's very much a time of day dependent fishery.
It
So
is.
there are certain spots that you have to be at certain times. And if you're not there, the fish don't leave. They don't leave the inlets, but they're not going to be feeding. And what they typically do is they get down deep and they just kind of hunker down for the day
Yeah.
in the heat of the day because the water's a little warm for them. And
Yeah.
and
I
that's
I
changing.
totally I totally agree with you. In a lot of different scenarios with that, but believe it or not, like even the last few weeks, like the bass that I've been plucking, even bigger bass, believe it or not, is like midday stuff.
Right. But
Yeah,
what's the
it's
water temperature right now though?
yeah. Well, before this, like I was still plucking them in like 73-degree water temp. Believe it or
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think my last trip out, Friday. Yeah, Friday. I think it was like 68 or 69. Believe it or
That
not.
See, that to
But
me is perfect. That to me is where the
mhm,
transition happens once it gets
yeah,
below 70.
yeah,
That's where you start seeing like the wholesale change of behaviors and locations. And it's
yeah.
almost like they wake up.
It is. It is. And I know a lot of guys like I am not and I've often said this, but like I am not a purist by any stretch of the imagination. Purist meaning like artificial purist.
Right.
Um, I, 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 I like doing what works. You know what I mean? And the one thing that I always said, sometimes you have to feed them what they want to eat and not what you want to feed them.
Yeah.
And that's my big that's a quote that I've been saying for years, and it's really the truth. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these bass, and even stretching back into August, they've been here. They've been here for a while, and sometimes you're not going to get these bigger bass to eat like an artificial, and it takes things like live mullet. Um, and live spot or live
Right.
eels to get these bigger backwater fish to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. It's like when I worked for Salt Strong, it was like all artificial. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm fishing with minnows.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you can say that, but when the tournament comes up, guess who's going out with live bait or dead baits in
Mhm.
variety, and guess who's at least going to have something to weigh if he wants to. And
Exactly.
it was me.
Exactly.
It was me and
Yeah.
everybody that was open minded. It's the guys that go out, I think, and look, if it's just what you want to do, you just hate bait fishing. More power to you. Just then
I
don't
get it.
do it.
And you know what? In a lot of ways, it's not the cool thing to do. You're
Right.
not throwing the cool new bait companies. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not repping them, and it's not the cool thing to do. But guess what? Live lining puts up more numbers than anything. It really does, especially in the back bay, hands down.
Yep.
I really stick by that. I really do.
I would agree. It's, you know, again, if you can bring yourself to do it. Um, I've said before, and John Creeley was on recently, and I always
Mhm.
joke with him
He's a
that
good dude.
he is.
I've been thinking about him a lot lately.
I always tell him, I'm like, you know, you wear your gear like fashion accessories.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know, I know. I'm like, you got your Van stall over here, you got your whatever rod here, you got this, you got this beautiful pink reel. And he's
Hmm.
like, I know, I know. I'm like, nothing wrong with that. But then
No.
you have me, I'm the opposite. Like one of my most used reels over the past 5-6 years is a, what is it? It's a Pen Pursuit. It's like now it's like a
Yeah, I know the
28 to
pursuit.
$30 reel.
Yeah.
But I've caught more striped bass, more, actually that's my sheep's head rig. I've
Hmm.
caught more sheep's head, striped bass, and fluke on that than all of my others combined. And I
Yeah.
don't go really expensive for the kayak, but
You
I just
can't.
don't
You
do it.
can't take the chance. And you know, it's funny. Like, people think like, oh, I have all this expensive gear, and I do for like my fall run ocean bass. I do have my really nice setups, which
Yeah.
I'll go over shortly. But if people looked at my backwater setups, they'd be like, what even is this? It's destroyed. It's literally destroyed. Like, I haven't bought myself a new backwater fishing reel in probably 6 years.
Yeah.
And all my backwater rods, my tackle is just trashed. It really is. I
Yeah.
gotta, but you know what? It's funny when people say, like, when people have like really nice things. I was like, I'm a boat guy. I can't afford nice
Right.
tackle. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
But look, there's nothing. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. I got to show this comment.
No.
This is freaking hilarious. Oh
What's
my
this?
god! All right, check on the screen from Jeff
Okay.
Daddario. Got a lot of product in that hair.
Who
I
said
do.
that?
I do have product.
Yeah, Jeff. Oh, okay.
Yes, this is where I spend my money.
Oh, Keith Alenardo. What's up, Keith? That's Hip Fish. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, and Keith has a good point that I also started to bring up. I just had to bring up the hair product thing first. Yes, I do
Yeah.
spend money on certain products.
I gotta tell you, Keith is one of those guys that flies under the radar, and he doesn't get enough acknowledgement as he should. Keith is an OG in this game,
Yeah.
and I have so much love and respect, and I'm just giving them a shout out right now. Keith, you are the man, and you are inspiring. And like, I remember when I was coming up, I would watch Hit Fish all the time, and man, he he knows. He is really dialed in, and he's another guy with no ego, and just, I don't know, just can't say enough good things about him.
I've never met Keith. It sounds like
Yeah.
my
I've
my kind
never
of
met
guy
him
though.
in person, but
No.
I've been dying to fish with him, and even just kick it at a restaurant and just have, you know, have a good meal with him. Him and his wife Amy, man, they're always on some sort of cool adventure.
Well, so maybe that's why we do the annual fishing trip so
Yeah,
that people can see each other in person.
I would
You know,
love that.
it's funny, and I joke around with my wife. She's like, "Are you going fishing?" I'm like, "I don't have anyone to go with."
Hmm.
And she's like, "Really? Out of all those people?" I'm like, "No, but I know that so and so is going with so and so and so." And
Yeah,
she's like, "You're not included." I'm like, "No."
yeah,
I'm like, but a lot of I've gotten a lot of messages from people that met each other in person. They know each other from the chat, right?
yeah, sure.
And they got to know each other on the tog trips. And now
Yes.
they go out and they fish together all the time. I think that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's one of the
yeah,
best
and
parts of this whole
I
thing.
can't say enough good things about Ben Barber too, crabbing and fishing, man. It's
Yeah.
been so nice to see his rise. Like, that man, I met him in the chats and through this, and you know, met him on the Tog trip, and I've just seen him accomplish so many great things. Like, and it's nice to see, man. Shout out to Ben Barber. He really put his time in. He really put a lot of time and hard work in, and I'm glad to see it paying off for him.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on recently.
Yeah.
Um, There are a couple. We're starting to get some questions in
Yeah,
there,
sure.
but one thing I do want. It's good that you mentioned Keith, because I had starred one of his comments to show, and I'm going to show it right now. And I think this goes to where I was I was talking about how the fish in the warmer waters will get down deep and kind of hang there until it cools off.
Yeah.
And that goes directly with this comment. The oxygen levels have a lot to do with it as well. And
Yeah.
what people don't always know, I think a lot of people know this, most people know this, but maybe not everyone, is that when you have the warmer water, it's holding less oxygen. And just think about it this way. It's if you think about sports and playing at Mile High Stadium and how that can impact the fitness, not the fitness, but the stamina
Mm-hmm.
of an athlete. Now, and you're talking athletes. I went once out to the Rockies, and we hiked a mountain, and it was absolute insanity. I couldn't catch my breath. And
Yeah.
that's what it can get like the hotter the water gets. And that's why you
Yeah,
have
and you know
optimal
what, Keith?
oxygen levels and
That
temperature.
is a really great point. And that is and that's why like OGs like Keith, like they know that stuff. Me, like my simple mind, I equate, oh, the bite shut down because of the moon phase that we're in. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Or the
And I don't
temperature.
think about important things like that that really do have a lot to do with it, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's what a lot of the temperature is
Yeah.
it's really an oxygen level
Yeah.
for some fish, you know.
It
Like you
it
could see a
is.
speckled trout is good up to like 95-degree water.
Yep.
Well, it's not necessarily the temperature of the water, it's what happens to the oxygen levels in there combined with the temperature that can really
Yeah.
do it. And
And I
that's
know even for sheep's head, like you know, you people would think they're a warm water fish, but like even this year when the water temps went like tropical, like that even shut them down. You
yeah.
know, it's because there's not enough oxygen. It's too stagnant. They probably all disappeared and ran off. You know.
Yeah, or
Um,
they sit in the cooler water until
yeah.
nighttime, and then,
Yeah.
they wake up and they get more active because it's easier for them to move around. Again, it all goes back to the simple fact. Every fish is eating only to stay alive,
Hmm.
right? So every calorie that they expend to get that meal is precious to them. So
It
if they're
sure
expending
is.
more calories in the hot water with less oxygen because, they're doing the equivalent of gasping
Yeah.
for air, well, it's less appealing to them. They'll still do it. They'll still eat, all day long if they can, if it's
Yeah.
an easy meal. But I think that does have a big role in it. So
And I'll even say this, and I might get a little bit of hate for this, but you know, like I kept a few bass over the last few weeks, you know, just for people that I had out, and near with the amount of bait, I'm telling you, the backwater is teeming with bait. You could
yeah,
walk across the water on it. Most of these fish that I had whacked up had nothing in their belly, and they have every reason to be feasting and gorging on all these resources that are there to them. So it's really interesting. It
yeah.
really is.
So what are the sizes that you've been seeing so far in the backwaters?
Oh my God. Kind of all over the place. Like, yeah, I'm seeing some like smaller, like 26-inch fish, but like I'm telling you, especially live lining, like most fish are going to be in that slot range or above. Like I'm
Okay.
seeing fish up to 36 inches. Like, and that's like on the norm. It really is. So
Hmm.
I mean, and when you think about, and you know, I know there's probably a lot of North Jersey guys that think about will hear this and be like, oh, you know, like 36-inch bass or a slot bass, but you know, for us South Jersey guys, that is an incredible backwater fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
30 inches is an amazing backwater fish.
It is. I remember I was so excited back in the day when I caught a
Mhm.
37 incher. I was so excited,
That's a
because it was
giant.
backwater.
That's
It
a
was.
giant backwater fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, and it just makes you reminisce on things. Like I remember like when I really first started getting into backwater fishing, I remember my first like actual keeper bass, and the regs back then, it was 2 fish over 28 inches or
Yeah,
whatever. And my first keeper striped bass, and looking back on it, I wouldn't have kept it these days, but was probably like 33 inches or something like that.
that's a good
And
one.
it is, but I was so proud. And like I remember that there's a picture of me with it, and the look on my face, and just the excitement, like I was shocked that I was even able to do it. And
Yeah,
it's funny, in his belly he had one big giant shrimp, like a prawn-sized shrimp in his belly.
really.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually just talking with a buddy of mine about that. I believe that it's this time of year that we actually do get a huge flow of shrimp, of like big shrimp that come into our back bays this time of year.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
So I did not know that.
Yeah.
And so that's key. I mean,
Mhm.
knowing things like that, I mean, that's important because that changes your tactics right
It
there.
does. It does.
And I'll tell you
Yeah.
one thing, I'm just going to mention this. One of my favorite lures to use when fishing artificial is a shrimp lure. And I'm
Okay.
not
Yeah.
saying gulp, gulp work, by the way. A lot of people won't use gulp for striped bass. They work, they're fine. You don't need them. But you start looking at any of the larger shrimp patterns and throw those up along a sod bank and just let it kind of, knock down the ledge. That
Yeah.
to me is a great way to do it. I do put some Procure on it, but I found that the best way to work a shrimp in the backwater is in the shallower waters under a what's it called, a popping cork.
Yes.
Well,
Oh
that is
man.
a great way.
Now we're getting into the weeds with things, because this is something that I've started to implement, and I'm starting to use this in a lot of different ways with the popping corks and
Yeah,
everything, and the floats, and being able to set a float at a certain distance. I got to tell you, the guys up in Jersey, that is something that is not utilized nearly enough, and can
right.
be absolutely deadly, especially with flounder, striped bass. I'll even go as far as to say, as your barnacle eaters, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, th- yes,
I, I
now you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I really like them, and a lot of
Mhm,
people think, "Oh, it's a bobber," but it's not. Like, you actually
mhm.
work it,
You
and there is
do.
a way to work it, and it's just that noise, that clack. For some reason, it brings them in. I've heard everything from it mimics an injured bait fish to a crab, whatever, the sound a shrimp makes when it takes off. I don't know what the hell it sounds like, but I know that I've caught a lot of different species of fish, everything from redfish to specks to weakfish to fluke to striped bass on it. I don't know. I can't recall anything. Oh, bluefish, obviously. You catch bluefish on a bottle cap. Um,
Yeah.
but it works. And you can put artificial or you can put natural baits under it too. So
You sure
it's really
can.
up to you.
And you know what? I'm sorry if I'm looking away. I'm just looking through like the chat, and like there, and like this is why I love the chat in this community so much.
Yeah.
Like looking at Keith, just said my biggest backwater bass is 42 inches in like '01, maybe. He said he never beat it, and that was on a clam. Ha ha. But like a 42-inch striped bass in the back bay, that's a monster, man.
That's
That's a monster,
absolute.
and that's something to be proud of. It is.
Yeah.
Ben, crabbing and fishing. I believe any catch for a given person might be their personal best, and it will always be celebrated on my boat. And you know what, Ben? There's no better. There's that is truly beautiful, because I totally agree. It's, man, any catch, like, be proud of anything you catch. It doesn't have to be always the biggest. It doesn't have to be the greatest. It doesn't have to be like a double digit sheep's head, or like a 40-inch backwater bass. Every catch is something to be celebrated, man. It's making those memories with those people, and especially the important people to you.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that really matters. It
Yeah.
really
My
does.
my
Good on you, Ben, for
yeah, I
saying
I
that.
agree. Me personally, my favorite catch ever was a 6-foot mako. I've caught bigger,
Yeah,
but it was the first one I caught with my grandfather.
sure.
And that's the only fish that I have tattooed on me.
That's awesome. That is
So,
really awesome.
yeah, so I have that on the back of my shoulder. And
Yeah,
a lot of people would look at that. If I don't even know if there are any pictures around anymore. We did,
yeah.
by the way, eat
Back
it.
when pictures were actually pictures.
Yeah, there were pictures. We
Yeah,
did eat it for dinner.
good.
Well, many dinners, but it was yeah, I'll never forget that. And that
Mhm.
actually got me into a decade of just constant shark fishing.
Obsessed with sharks, exactly.
Yes.
And everybody, if you've been following me, you heard me tell this story. But my one of my earliest fishing memories, my dad had me on a boat. I think I was 2 years old, and they took me mako fishing for my first time at 2 years old, and they proceeded to hook into probably a 10-foot mako, and I just remember being in awe and watching this thing somersault and jump and
Yeah.
just they're like, Scotty, get in the cabin. And I just remember climbing up on the helm seat and watching this thing swim by. But you know what? That is burned in my memory forever.
Yeah.
Like I don't know these days who would take a 2-year-old mako fishing. Shout out to Nut for doing that. That was epic.
That's
But
awesome.
that's what got me bit. That's what
Yeah.
got me bit, and I was obsessed with sharks after that. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm
and
still obsessed with them. I force
same.
myself not to go
Yep.
for them. But
Yep.
honestly, and we'll get back on topic in a second, but
Yeah.
honestly, what I want to do is do a mothership kayak trip. If I can find somebody to do it at an affordable price, to
Yeah.
take us off, 30, 40 miles, maybe out to the Cigar or something like that. Drop the kayaks in the water. You just mothership around, you do your own fishing, hang out,
Hmm.
and on the kayaks go shark fishing.
Yeah.
And then, when we bring it in, if it's, a certain size, then obviously we can land it and they can boat it from the
From the
actual boat,
mothership.
and they can
Yeah.
take care of it because we don't want to
You know
kill it.
what, Rich? If you're serious about doing that, I know some guys that have boats that would actually love to make that happen, and even like a thresher or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I actually do know some guys that would be happy would probably love to make that happen.
Oh, well, we'll talk about it then. I
Yeah.
just got to find a couple of other people that are willing to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I
it would
think it
be
would be
fun.
great. I think it would be so much fun to
Yeah.
go out there and do that. All right. Well, we got to jump back. While
Yeah.
we've been talking, there's been a conversation in the chat that I think is worth bringing up.
Okay.
And it's about different we were talking about the different brands and the pricey equipment and everything. So Jeff
Hmm.
started off the conversation, said, well, how do you guys feel about Penn? So I'm going to start off and I'm going to say Penn used to be, in my mind, the best that was available. We're talking 30, 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that. And look, full disclosure, I was brought up on Penn. That's all that we ever
Same.
had.
Same.
And they're heavy as hell, the old
They
ones. I still
are.
have old ones and I still use them when I'm surf fishing
Yeah.
with bait. If I'm sticking it in a rod holder, that's what I'm using. I still use Penn, even though they're made in China. They're not of the same quality, and a couple reasons. They are still more reliable, in my opinion, than most other brands. They're less expensive, and any shop can fix it at a
They
reasonable
can.
price.
Yeah.
You look at Daiwa. I absolutely love Daiwa.
It's
You
amazing
break a
stuff.
Daiwa, you're never going to get it fixed. I mean,
No.
you're talking years to get new
No, I
parts.
think the real seed actually works on Daiwa, but same, yeah, it's very difficult to get that stuff worked on. And it's funny that you say that because I remember when I first got into backwater fishing, my first real good reel that I bought was the Penn Spin Fisher V
Yeah.
live liner 4500. I still have that, and you know what? It's something that I use for my charters now for live lining.
Yeah.
And that thing has never once been serviced. The paint is peeling off. It has been abused. I used to use it for my ghetto shark, and I would call it,
Yep.
and it just keeps working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, pen stuff is great. It really is.
Yeah. The other things, so Stratic is probably my favorite reel.
Yeah,
It's a little pricey for me in a
it is.
kayak. I have dropped, just being an idiot, I've dropped, rods overboard and watched them sink. So that's the reason I don't spend money on them. It's not
Yeah,
because they
I
get
get it.
abused by the salt, because every single one, including that Pursuit I talked about, that is literally on every kayak trip that I take. And that little $30 reel has been going since before actually, it was in the first video I ever made for this channel, was that
And
rod.
and that stuff, like my 4500 live liner, it becomes very, very sentimental, and some
Yeah.
things just have the mojo. But I was going to get into some of like my fall run gear that I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Let's roll right into that.
So my fall run gear, this is my hands down my favorite rod. So this is built by House of Rods. Shout out to Uncle Chuck. He is the best. This is a was it Black Hole Suzuki blank, and it's rated to half ounce to 2 ounces. But you can do a lot with it. I have it set up to where it's got like the surf handle grip, and on it I have my visor. Now this is the Gem 1 visor, and I've had a lot of issues with this, but I will say the company has been very, very stand up, and they were great to deal with. Amazing customer service. But I do have 30-pound braid set up on this, and this is 8 foot. Like even fishing from the boat for fall run stuff, like I really prefer 8 foot rods. And just real quick going into this, so and this is my one heavier backwater setup that I use. Now this has I'm a huge fan of the VRs. I know that
Yep.
we're getting into expensive stuff, but these VRs are incredible, and this is a VR 50. But I will tell you this. So for me, the perfect boat reel that you can do anything with for the fall run would be a VR 75, which my dad has. I have the VR 50, which is a little bit smaller, but what most people don't know is the only difference between the VR 50 and 75 is spool size. So if you're somebody that has a VR 50 and likes it, all I did is I bought a VR 75 spool, and I can swap them out. So I have my 50 spool on right now for the backwater, but when I switch over the fall run, I have my 75 spool, which fits right on the VR 50 body, filled with 30-pound braid that I can do whatever with. You
Oh,
know
that's
what I mean?
perfect.
So yeah, so you don't have to. So if you do, um, you don't have to spend the money on an extra reel like that, because I don't have that like extra money. So
Right.
that is a great little trick. And a lot of the VR stuff is sized like that. So yeah, so I'll be putting my 75 spool back on the 50 now that we're getting into like the fall run stuff. Then going into like my heavier outfit, and this is another one. This is my it's my pink rod made by House of Rods, with the My Little Pony spec in it. Yeah, well, I love it. I love it. But this has the VR 125 on it, and I will say this. Again, I'm a huge fan of the VRs because they don't need service. They don't break down, and you can just beat them up and beat them up and beat them up.
Yep.
However, the 125 I do not like because it's geared a whole lot lower. So if you're going to try to work like topwater plugs with this,
You're
forget about
cranking.
it. Yeah, it's just like turning, turning, turning. That's why I think the VR 75 is like the perfect backwater. Or you could if you get the 50 and get a 75 spool, You can do anything in the backwater with that, like heavier bass work, and you can go out front and you can live line 40-pound bass on it with 75. And the gear, it's a lot faster gear ratio on the 75 and 50. They have the same like quick pickup. So believe it or not, the 50, the VR50 and VR75, the pickup and line return is a lot faster than even on the bigger reels. So
Yeah.
just
The
some
gear
notes.
ratio is the gear ratio is important, and a lot of people don't think about
Massively
that.
important.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to bring up a point. We're getting into the season where you are going to start getting some 40-pound fish, even if you're in the
Yeah.
backwaters. And one thing that I did, so look, you have those bigger reels and those bigger rods, and I want to say you don't have to have the big equipment to get those. My personal best striped bass, I didn't take it out of the water, but very easy to tell it was well over 50 inches by where it was alongside my kayak. I caught it on a TFO Pro 7.6 medium heavy, 15-pound braid.
Love it.
Yeah, but it took too long, right?
Yeah.
It was 14 feet of water, and
Yeah.
it took 20 minutes to get
That's
it up
awesome.
14 feet, and it was a fight and everything. So I want to caution people: don't go too light.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that I would hook into something like that. I thought I had a snag when I hooked it, and then it moved, and it was insanity after that.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, I was
That's
ready to
it's
break the
funny
rod.
that you say that too, because honestly, I used to use my little noodle Lama Glass TFX. It was 6615S. It was a little 6'6" carbon fiber noodle rod, and all I had was a 2500 Daiwa on that 15-pound test, and I would live line with that. And my biggest backwater bass, even back then, I 40 plus inch fish, like 30 plus pounds, I've
Yeah.
caught on that setup on a 2500.
Yeah, if you work
Yeah,
it right, you can. I will
you can.
let's qualify it a little bit. So I had a Penn Fierce 3000. And
Yeah,
by the way, once you get to the Fierce model and above, they have the same drag system. So
yeah.
the Fierce, which is around $90,
Hmm.
is the same drag system that you're getting on the $200 reels. So just so
Yeah.
that people know that. I was in a kayak, which makes it easier because it was pulling me. So it
Oh
wasn't,
yeah.
you're on a big boat, it's not pulling the boat. So it puts more
No,
strain on
but
the rod and the line.
a lot of times you have to do a lot of fancy boat work in order to even land a lot of these
Sure.
fish, because they're going ballistic.
Well, exactly. But with a kayak, it's more of just turn the rudder and let it kind of pull you. So you have your weight plus the rod and the line and all that stuff helps out. But I think the one thing I want to make from that point is yes, you can land really big fish with really small gear,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't necessarily do that, right? Because that fish was played out when I let it go. Now, luckily, it was really cold water. I think it was late March up in the Raritan Bay or Raritan River a couple of years ago, and it swam off really strong. I'm hoping that she stayed alive. I'm pretty sure she did. The way that she got free was as I grabbed her mouth. I went to knock the hook out of the lip, and she thrashed once and just snapped the leader.
Yeah.
So like right at the hook almost. So I think she was okay. She took off.
What pound leader was it?
So it was 15-pound braid. So it was probably 20-pound leader,
Yeah.
but it broke the leader, not the line, because I was holding the leader with my left hand and I had the mouth with my right, and it was a perfect spot that I could put my thumb to kind of like knock the lure out. And as I
Yeah.
did that, she thrashed, I dropped it, and it just kind of snapped.
So, real quick, so James Flynn was asking about ghost bluefin setups.
Yep.
So, and of course, everybody knows the debacle we're in right now with them closing down the bluefin fishery. In fact, that killed a lot of my motivation for this fall, I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest with you. It's a shame because it's always been my dream to land one solo. But anyhow, so I'm still working through like my preferred setup. I know for reel wise, I have an 18,000 Saragossa. And that reel has been through a lot of stuff. Um, the rod I'm not very happy with, and I'll just call it out. It's an OTI. It was like a cheaper, I don't know, introductory setup, but the rod's it's an 8-foot rod. It's like a broomstick. All of the pressure goes onto the angler. Like the rod doesn't eat up any of the pressure of the fish. So all that is going like weighing back on you, which is really, really difficult. So I would suggest getting something more with a parabolic soft bend. And parabolic bend, especially like with bigger fish, that's what I need these days. Even like my bigger setups for bigger bass, I don't like this fast action stuff. I like stuff with a real nice parabolic bend where the rod just eats up all that pressure.
Right.
So,
It gets into
and
the backbone, and it's a
yeah,
long backbone.
exactly. And as far as my 18,000 Gosa, what I have 65-pound braid on that, and I choose to go with the 65 because I wanted more line capacity than I did with the drag. Because here's the thing, man. I know with me these days, I'm getting older. Like I'm I'm not I'm not fighting a fish on maxed out drag anymore. I can't. Like in fact, the last bluefin from last year, it blew up my elbow. Like I
Yeah.
see Rothman and all. Like I was on that fish like full locked like Saragossa for an hour and 20 minutes. And at one point, I had to put the rod in the rod holder as I'm maneuvering the boat. And that rod is just buckling and popping and creaking. And like the reel seat was like, I thought the rod was going to explode. It never did,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's just like a fun little story. I forgot where I was going with that. But
Well, I'll tell you what, those videos when you're hooking into those fish solo and you've got that 360 cam are
the stoke,
insanity.
yeah, the stoke is just unreal when you're chasing a feed for 6 hours and you get one bite or two bites and you finally get one to stick. It's just like there is nothing fishing wise that could ever compare to that. Truly, I mean it. And listen, I am not the authority in ghost hunting at all. There's these young kids that I have a tremendous amount of respect for in their earlier 20s, mid 20s, especially a lot of local kids to hear. I mean, they put in some work, and
Yeah.
shout out to them. Uh, I'll say it right now. Shout out to Thomas. Shout out to Connor. Like you guys got your stuff figured out. Big salute to you guys. I mean, yeah, it's incredible. The kids these days, like, just you know, um, there's two different schools of thought. There's the ones that just want to watch YouTube and don't want to put in their time, and
Right.
then there's the dudes like Thomas and Connor that they're out there grinding. They're making reports. They're not posting. They work really hard to like figure the fishery out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm just honestly, I'm just a lone wolf with a dream. I don't have the knowledge of the ghost. I, I'm out there just doing my thing like a lone wolf, hoping that I could score on something. So I just want to like pre-qualify myself that I am nowhere near any sort of expert on this subject at all. But
That's fair.
just
Yeah.
just a kid with a dream. That's all. You
Yeah,
know
but
what I mean?
we've all seen your video.
Yeah,
Or videos of when you hook into those things. And did you
yeah.
get spooled on, almost spooled on one?
Yeah. The last one the last one from last December, December 7th. And like, I remember the dates. It's like crazy. In fact, that day I actually did hook a thresher on a jig, believe it or not, too.
Oh,
I didn't even believe what I was seeing, but I saw fish of all sizes that day, Rich, and I was like, man, I'll just be happy with a 200-pounder. Fish of all sizes. I think I hooked up and pulled hooks on two. I rolled up on this last feed, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to cast into this. I don't
yeah,
even want to cast into these fish. They are not manageable. They're like 5, 6, 800 pounds are absolutely freaking huge. And like I hesitate and I cast and I'm like kind of wincing. And of
yeah,
course, that's the one that stays pinned. It's
yeah,
always the one that, and I got to tell you, from initial hookup, it was like 20 seconds and I saw silver on the spool. And you can hear me like I run around the boat, start the engines up,
yeah,
start chasing it down. And you can hear me say, uh-oh, oh shit. And that's because I'm seeing silver on the spool.
yeah,
Like that fast.
yeah.
And I got 500 yards of 65 pound on my Gosa 18K. You know what I mean?
There's nothing worse than hooking into a fish, a great fish, and hearing that ping at the end where it breaks
Oh
off.
no, there is no hearing that ping. And let me tell you, I was full throttle up on plane chasing that fish down because there was no way I was getting dumped.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Not only that, but like, come on, man. Like, I'm not made of money. That's $80 worth of line that's going. Like, I want to get some of it back. And
yeah,
also, like, if I got spooled, I didn't have another rod to continue fishing with. Like,
yeah.
you
You better
know?
get that back. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been spooled. I've been spooled surf fishing.
Sucks. Yep.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Yep.
Although the last time that I was spooled, I was young enough that my grandfather was still paying for the line.
Yeah.
So
Let me tell you something about being spooled and being spooled close. So in my marina this year, everybody's familiar. Well, I'm not going to say the name. So
yep,
there's a big charter guy, very well known, very well respected. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. They went sea bassing. Every sea bass scrap that got thrown into the water, they had 100-pound bluefin, eating it, eating it. Well, they end up catching it, and who would have thought in my marina, just right here in South Jersey, there would be 100-pound bluefin tuna lurking around in my marina.
that's
You
awesome.
know, it's crazy, but it really makes you think. Like in the back bay here, in Ocean City or wherever, you get picked up by something and you get spooled, you just never know what that could actually be,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
And that to me
And
is a big appeal for saltwater fishing
it,
because
it
you
is.
pretty
And
well know for
that's
fresh.
what keeps us all coming back, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
That is for me. So,
yeah,
we're already at our hour.
I know,
What
man.
have
It
what
happens
have we
every time.
missed? What have we missed that we should really just throw out there right now?
Um,
You always have a list of stuff. Did we cover it?
so yeah, so just some things if you guys are looking for like fall run fishing, and like stuff that's in my bag. And this can go for tuna or bass. Wolfpack tackle, these ahi jigs, man, I can't say enough good things about these. They look like an eel, they can look like a bunker. They got tuna grade hooks on them. In fact, this is what I hooked my last bluefin on back in the fall. Um, but I love these Wolfpack tackle, and it's another company that like kind of flies under the radar that's not well known. They make these jigs in all sizes. I cannot say enough good things about them, and these are not going to get destroyed on you. I don't even know if these are. I think there might even be bluefish proof. So I got those. When it comes to like everyone needs the big walking spooks in their
Yep.
bag. This is one of my favorites. Shout out to Ahern Tackle. I don't really care for some of the bigger, well-known companies. I'm not going to knock them. But Ahern Tackle, Bobby from Back Bay Plugs did a run of lures with these. Can't say enough good things, and they're not expensive at all. They're some of my favorite go-to grabs. Of course, you always got to have the white storm shads in the collection. I will say this though, one of my favorite companies, and I don't have one out now, but shout out to Slab Zone, man. Slab Zone makes killer products. And if you're looking for jigs like that aren't going to, like, you may pay a little bit more money for them, but slab zones don't get torn up. Like, I remember my slab zones from the Back Bay. I used to catch 100 fish on one slab zone, and that's no joke.
Yeah.
So I would really look into slab zone. Aaron is a great dude. He's a West Coast guy. You know, he just did a slab zone version 2. They track incredibly well, whether you're reeling them fast or deep jigging, working them slow. They track truer than any shad that I've ever used. So definitely slab zone. Also, shout out to Hokahay. I love the plugs that Hokahay makes. This is a jointed swimmer here. He's got a little tail on it. Hokahay is he's an incredible guy. Jonathan, he was taught by Mike Fixter, and Mike Fixter was the godfather of the pikey.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, shout out to him. Big respect for Jonathan. I love all of his products. Again, Back Bay Plug Company. I can't say enough good things about Bobby. This is the Jersey Killer here. Everybody has seen this color if you're familiar with them. Love these jointed swimmers by Back Bay Plug Company. Can be worked just 1,000 different ways. And one of my all-time favorites that I don't throw enough because I'm so scared to use it, but is the Larson Lures jointed swimmer.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of these jointed baits. Man, nothing swims like these guys. And Larson Lures, they just have it dialed in. I mean, you throw this in the water, it looks so good, you would pile on it. You really would. And I got two different kinds of these. I got a bunker color and the white. White has always been my favorite, but big shout out to Larson Lures because he really does make some incredible stuff, and his jointed stuff, amazing. Also, I haven't even mentioned them, but Personal Best Lures. Can't say enough good things about their topwater plugs, man. I've been using Personal Best for years for the fall, and love their stuff.
So there's a great list of things to go for. I'm going to throw something out there that's a little different.
Yeah.
You've covered all of the hard baits and those artificials, but for those that are watching, those that are listening didn't see this, but every one of those was a large lure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw in, I don't know if there's science behind this or not. There's my experience and my results that I'll just share. I often catch the biggest fish on the smaller profiles. So yeah, so something like that. So I'm talking now, when I say smaller, I'm saying, like a soft plastic that is, I wouldn't go under necessarily 5.5 inches, but up to like 8, but something with a small, a thin profile. So think about any type. I don't care what brand, throw whatever brand you want. If you think you have to do no live bait needed, then just do it, whatever.
Yeah.
But a soft plastic with a low profile in the midst of a bunch of large profile natural baits can stand out.
It sure can.
When I caught that fish, that the biggest one that I caught that I talked about earlier, the 50+ inch one, that was 14 feet of water. It was on a just a regular jig head with a what is it? It's the a Z-Man plastic.
Yeah.
The diesel size.
Yeah.
So it wasn't big. And what I did though is it was very bright outside. So I changed it up and I went with a darker color. So it was like a root beer color in the middle of the day. And I fished it right
And
there.
now you're getting into my favorite color right there. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to hate on me for that, but go ahead.
Well, I
I
like,
love the root beer sparkle.
I love, yes. So it has to have flecks in it. So this had
Yeah.
silver and gold flecks, and
Mhm.
it actually wasn't root beer. It was almost like a really dark green with a little bit of purple in it. So it was like this really ugly combination, but the profile was going to stand out amongst other things. So I have found that when there's a ton of bait in the water, change it up and look different. So I
Yeah.
like using the shrimp because the shrimp are always going to look different because they're typically not going to be in mass in one area. So if there's a million bunker going by and one really nice sized shrimp, you figure they're at least going to see it. Right.
Yeah.
And if there's a lot of bunker going through and I throw a very low profile, thin, soft plastic in there in a different color, so it's going to have a different contrast, a different silhouette, I'm going to throw that out there. And I have caught almost, not all, but I would say over half, maybe almost 70% of my biggest fish were when I was not matching the hatch, but they were
Yeah.
actively feeding
That's
well.
an incredibly good point. And it just reminds me of going back to Keith, hit fish. The day that he is on the jetty working his fly rod and ends up catching that 50-pounder on a fly.
Yeah.
I think we all remember that. I mean, that day went down in history, and he wasn't matching the hatch.
No, no.
No.
That's why one of the best things you can do if you're live lining spot or bunker or whatever you're doing, a snag and drop, when you go to drop it after you transfer it onto that circle, throw it literally into the center of the bunker because it'll
Mhm.
scatter them. And what they do is they'll make a big circle around it, and there's one fish in the middle, and it's your fish. That's how
Yeah.
you get, if you're going to have the same profile of everything that's out there, make it stand out. And you can throw it along the edges and just sit next to the bluefish that are on the edges, or you can throw it into the middle, scatter everything, and be the only thing sitting in a 15-foot area. So as soon as a bass comes through the middle there, they're going to see one bait. And that's how you
Yeah.
you got to find ways to stand out when there's tons of bait in the water. And that's just
You
another way to do it.
do, you do, and it's a good point there too, because it reminds me of fishing the bunker pods and things like that. Um, Shout out to Humpback Zach and his dad Doug. I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys, and again, not guys that post or do anything. He does make rods, Crazy Face Customs, love his rods, but man, they have their system, and they for years all they had was a little 18-foot aluminum boat, and they would crush fish. And
Yeah.
I don't want to give away their secret, but their secret was always getting their bunker below that bunker pod.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's where the big fish are sitting. They're sitting on the outsides and they're looking for
Yeah.
something that's, different. If they're in the middle,
Even down
you
on
got
the
to stand
bottom,
out.
right? Like underneath, like waiting for just all the scraps to fall down because they're the laziest fish. And
Yep.
let me tell you something, those two guys have caught more big fish and not even posted it or talked about it than anybody I know, really.
Yeah. I don't think I posted a fish picture this year.
Yeah.
I didn't have any like outstanding ones, but it was nice.
Yeah, I hear it hurt my heart because like I genuinely love the photography and videography end of things.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest reason why I would post, because I always wanted to get a good shot of something. It wasn't always about, hey, look at me, look what I caught. It was more like, look at I put a lot of effort into getting that shot or capturing that moment. And it really bothered me this year that I didn't post hardly anything because I didn't have any of my own personal
Right.
material.
Well,
You know what I
if
mean?
anyone's interested, go back and look at Scotty's Instagram at the beginning. and you'll see
Yeah.
exactly what he's talking about. It was
Yeah.
more of an
Go
art
back to like
page.
1920. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more like an
2018.
art page, of
Yeah, it
photography page
was.
than anything, and just
Yep.
amazing stuff. And I actually followed you back then because of the pictures were so awesome. Like
Yeah.
great angles, great lighting. It
I
was
always
just,
tried to do and get angles and of things that that nobody else was getting. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah. Well,
So
now they copy
and
you.
and that's why going back to what Ben said, like it doesn't matter. Every catch should be celebrated. Every
Yeah.
catch should be. And I got to tell you, like I've always said that small fish take nice pictures too. You know what I mean? Some of my pictures that got the most traction were of small fish. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, just I don't know. That's getting into a whole photography end of things, but yeah,
Well,
every catch should be celebrated.
from the photography end, Stephen Duda is asking, do you use a cell phone or a real camera? I know you use a real
Yeah,
camera.
real camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there, but I got to tell you, like my first magazine cover came from an iPhone 10 shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cameras, especially these days, can go a long way if you get yourself a tripod and a shutter remote and proper lighting. And the biggest thing is too that people don't think about this is a background is what makes the picture.
Yeah.
It's not the focal point of the picture, it's the background. Like people don't want to see like nets and rods and all this crap and garbage in the background. And like setting yourself up with a nice backdrop that creates the picture. It really does.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of theories that go into that because I'm a freak about it. But the angle of the sun versus what way the direction the wind is coming from, there's all that stuff that goes into it. But then we'll be here for another hour. But
Yeah, we'll get my brother on for that too. He's a photographer.
yeah,
He
yeah,
can educate us all. You two can share tips with
yeah,
each other. So, well, look, Scotty, thanks for coming on. I'm really excited. I can tell by the chat that they're excited for this changeover once this weather gets out. Hopefully, I see a bunch of you in the chat, and I've
yeah.
gotten some texts from some folks that I know live on the Barrier Islands in New Jersey.
Yep,
And
Stephen Duda.
actually,
Then there's no spot burning. That is key. That
yeah,
is
no spot
key.
burning.
That is key.
Watch the
And
background.
with the amount of technology these days, that gets me started on a whole other thing. It is so easy to blur a background or to remove or conceal a background these days. Like there is no excuse to have backgrounds in your pictures or
Yeah,
whatever.
I got yelled at before for using a blurred background.
Blur background,
Like I did my
AI.
best.
AI does incredible things with backgrounds that
Yeah.
I do it the old fashioned way. Like I can conceal a background to where nobody would ever know just from like post photo editing type stuff. But
Yeah, it's easy in post
it is.
editing. I mean, you can
Yep.
remove anything, make it look however you want. You could put a
Yeah,
water tower where there is no water tower. Yeah,
exactly.
you can put a fat guy in a thong in the background if you want. You can put
There you
whatever you
go.
want to throw people off. They'll
Hey,
think
I
you're
might
down
be
at
in a
Higbee's.
thong in the background.
Oh man! All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And thank you
Yeah.
to the chat. You guys, like, this is why I love this community because this community is family. It is. It is. And I'm just so glad that the show is back. And Rich, you mentioned in the beginning, I'm definitely down to be a weekly guest or a co-host for this. Let me know.
All right. There we go. There we go.
Open invite. Happy to do it. I would love it.
All right. You know it's going to happen now.
Yep. No, I'm totally good with it. I'm telling you right now. I'm good.
All right. There we go.
Ready to go.
You guys heard it here first.
So,
You heard it here first. Yeah. So I will announce who's coming on next week.
Okay.
Later in the week. That's up in the air at the moment. it's really tough to get people that have time to come on at a certain time because we do it as a live stream and as a podcast. But we have a few guys that said, look, I can't ever make a Monday, but we can do a pre-recorded. I'm trying not to do those until, later in the winter, when other things are going on. But
all right,
thanks
Rich,
again.
Who is it? I can't take it anymore.
No, I don't. I don't have it locked in. Otherwise it would. I will tell you that Frank Mahalik's going to come on in a couple weeks. Cool. We're going to talk, the opening of the big TOG season in New Jersey. It's already going on up and down the coast, but it's going to get it's about to get good. So Frank's going to come on.
Believe it or not, on that note, I am, when TOG season opens, I am going to be doing backwater TOG trips this year. So it's something, and the bite should still stay good. So that's something that I'm going to be offering this year. So keep me in mind. If you don't want to do the deal with a big party boat, head boat, 6-pack, you can have a lot of fun in the back bay with TOG.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we did videos kayak fishing Christmas week, catching keeper TOG in the back.
Yeah.
If you know where the pieces are, you're going to know where the fish are.
Mm-hmm.
And you know where they are. I mean, you fish them.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Much love. Nothing but pineapple vibes to everybody.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And we'll talk about the pineapple next time.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. After this weather gets through, everyone get out there. Oh, I messed it up. Scotty, I messed up the last line. I say the same thing every damn week. All right, ready? Let's try it again. After the weather clears, after everybody's house is dried, get out there, get on the water, and get some tight lines.
There you go.